All right, we are live. Hello, happy Wednesday. This is a very powerful day, and so I'm super excited that it fell on a Wednesday because that is the day that we go live here at the Self Care Soul Care Sanctuary. So we are streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, in two groups: our Self Care Soul Care smaller group and our bigger Get Inspired movement group. So we're so happy to have you here, wherever you're tuning in from. Today is a very special day on God's calendar, and it's been pouring all morning. I don't even know what time it started in the middle of the night, but it's been pouring here, which is there's a little irony in that because today is actually the 27th day of the Hebrew month of Hezvan, and it is the day that Noah stepped out from the ark onto dry land. So it's very powerful. It's November 3rd, 2021, and it's Hezvan 27, 5782. So I wanted to share a little bit. I'm going to do a recap because we've talked about some of these things in previous videos, but I just wanted to go over this year of 5782 very briefly and these numbers and what they mean. Numbers in the Hebrew alphabet are also letters, and they're also pictograms, and they give insight. And so every year, the rabbis study out what the words mean, the letters, the Hebrew numbers mean, and they get insight and direction, and God speaks through these things. So from right to left, which is how you read Hebrew, the number 2 is the letter bet, and it means the house. So like the house of God. It's so awesome. Number 8 in the alphabet is het, and you've probably heard this, even if you don't know any Hebrew at all. You might have heard this, L'chaim. People will say that when they toast on New Year's. It's to life. It means life, living waters. It means that it's to life. And this isn't about a physical house that Bet is. It is about the home, the house of God, the people. Where does that dwell? It dwells in you, right? So it's the smaller scale, it's the bigger scale. It's that house of God, and that we're moving into a new life and new living waters. It's incredible. 5782. So the number 7 is a multiplier. Sometimes it'll be multiple numbers, but 7 in the Hebrew, it stands for Zion, and it's nestled between the 5, which is the Hebrew letter Hey, which is revelation and grace. There's also an amazing story when you think about the number 5 and the power of that. It's the 5th letter of the alphabet. It's connected to Hey, H, which is a Hey, and it also represents the power of God to do the impossible. And I know that we've shared this on previous, but I believe it's so worth repeating that when David went to slay Goliath, he went and gathered 5 stones because the number 5 was important. It was symbolic of this is all I need, and it's God's power to do the impossible. He only used one, right? But there's symbolism in the numbers, and he would know that. He knew that when God changed Abram's and Sarai's name, he added one letter, and that changed everything. It gave them this identity of multiplication and doing the impossible with the seemingly impossible. He made it possible. So 5 is an amazing number. So, and 7, it's an intensifier of that 5, which is representative of grace. So it's a provision of grace that will bring God's glory, and it's through the living waters, through God's house this year. That's what this is really, really, I love, because 578 is going to be the first 3 numbers of the years for this whole decade, right? But the number 2 that is representative of that house of God is so powerful. This is also a Shemitah year. And if that's the first time you've heard that, check that out, because it's a very powerful, powerful year that we are in. It's a sabbatical year, every 7th year. And it's a time period where God is calling out, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He calls us to rest the crops, the earth, the ground, to rest. It is a year of rest. And there's a lot there. So a few videos ago, we did an amazing whole lesson on the Shemitah year, which was like so powerful. But he's talking about that, and he's calling you into his rest. So come into the shelter of the Most High God. That is also a big message about the Shemitah year. So check out those previous videos because we talked about those in detail. But today is the 27th day of the month of Hezvan. In the year of 1657, from creation, the earth dried after the flood. So 1657 years after God created the earth, he flooded the earth. And on this day, it dried. It was the completion of a 365-day duration of the flood that wiped out all the earth, except for the 8 humans that were on there, right? And the animals, that 2 of each species of that time were on the ark. So on this day, God commanded Noah to come out of the ark, repopulate, settle, and civilize the earth. And I want to read this in Genesis 8. Okay, so I'm going to start in... well, he sends out the dove. The dove came to him, and she had a freshly plucked olive leaf. So he knew the water had cleared, but he waited yet another 7 days. And he sent out the dove, and this time she did not return back. You can hear the thunder behind me, possibly. Okay, so I'm going to start here in verse 13, and it says, by the first day of the first month of the 601st year, the water had dried up from off the earth. So Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and yes, the surface of the ground was dry. It was on the 27th day of the second month that the earth was dry. So God said to Noah, go out from the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing you have with you, birds, livestock, and every animal that creeps on the earth, so that they can swarm on the earth, be fruitful, and multiply. So Noah went out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, whatever moves on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. And Noah built an altar to Adonai. Then he took from every clean animal and every clean bird, and he offered burnt offerings on the altar. So right there in Genesis 8:15 is what we're experiencing today. This is the anniversary of that. So God called him out of safety and comfort of the ark. They had just gone through the storm of storms, the epic biblical thing that changed history. They had just experienced that, survived that, and now God is calling them out of the safety and comfort of that ark. And so there is a time when you have to leave the rest and follow God out. You have to leave your nest of rest, right? And follow God out into where he's calling you. And how amazing that this year is the year of the house and this new living water. By the way, this flood began 365 days ago, and on the Hebrew calendar, it began on Hezvan 17, which happened to be the night on sundown, the night of the presidential election in 2020. So I feel that there is a lot connected. This is biblical, what we're experiencing, and we are literally in history, making history. We are in a great awakening, and there's so much that's connected to that. So think about that today the flood has ended. So that means tomorrow is the day that God gave his promise of a rainbow. So we might be having one of those out here, depending on how long this storm goes. Okay, so, but the great thing is even though he's calling them out of the ark, out of the safety and the comfort of the ark, he promises that he will always be with them. His presence goes with them, just like it goes with us. His presence goes with us. So we can take his rest, his peace, his shalom with us wherever we go. We get to have that. So I want to encourage you that while God is calling us out, he's calling us to step into a new beginning, that you and we're not alone. We're not alone in this. So he's calling us to step out, to trust him to provide, to trust him to protect, all of those things, and to realize that things might look different than they did before. Can you even imagine what Noah saw when he stepped out of the ark to a world that had just been decimated? I can't even imagine. And coming out of the ark, he was called to go forth and multiply and repopulate. So Noah is in the line of Seth, which is in the line of Adam. Very, very important. These lineages are very important. And so if you think about where we are also experiencing many, many changes around us. Things are different. Things are different than they were. I was talking to a client yesterday and we were talking about how, you watch videos or movies, I should say, you watch movies and in the future and everything's virtual and people are on video calls and talking on video. And it's like, wow, we're actually experiencing that happening and how things changed into that, because people are now so much more used to being online and used to this. And there's a shift that has happened. And in the midst of all of this, God is calling us to step out boldly and to where he's calling us to go next. Where is that? So what's the first thing that Noah did when he stepped off the ark? And I read it in Genesis. The first thing that he did was he built an altar to God. He built an altar. He didn't get out and think, where am I going to build my house? And I got to, take care of all these things, which is so easy for us to do. It's so easy for us to focus on our own comfort, or not even comfort, but survival, right? Survival. But he built an altar to God. He built that altar. And this was his normal response. This is who Noah was before the flood. This is why he was called into the flood. This is who he was. He was always giving himself to God and seeking God's will. And we can only really do that, if we know that God loves us and that he is for us. And it's an interesting thing because we talked about that a lot at the beginning of the year. Like, that's a foundational starting point, that trusting God is for you and not against you. And if there is anything in you that struggles with that, bring that out right now, because without that understanding, it's going to be very difficult to trust and to believe and to follow and to even hear God's will, because Satan wants that division to be there. And there's ways to work through that. Okay, so we want to exit the ark today in real time and in our lives and enter into his love. That's what this is. It's entering into his love. So getting a fresh revelation of his great love for us, his great love for you. And then we can go into the unknown and into this new beginning he has for us. We don't know. And it's scary and it's different. It's different, but it's good. It's so good. God is the closest to us when we're in the wilderness with him. And remember, he's partnering with you. So we know that he loves us. We know that he promises in his word that he gives us hope. He gives us a future, and that he's walking with us. This is the God, this right here that we're talking about is the old covenant. So think about how much more does God love us and is connected to us in a new and better covenant with him, because we are in the covenant with Jesus. Amazing. So his spirit is in us 24/7. We have this rest in us. We have that peace that transcends all understanding. And if you've been walking with us for the last 2 years, we've been focusing so much on aligning with the calendar and with Sabbath, and understanding that practicing Sabbath is practicing relying on God. It's practicing that. We need the practice because it goes against our flesh. It goes against our culture, our society. Everything is opposite of that. It's a make it happen world that we live in. And God is trying to undo that so that we can step boldly forward into where he's calling us with a reliance on him. It's not an easy task. It really isn't, but it's possible. That's actually how God created us. That's why we feel out of sorts and overwhelmed and confused and anxious. when we're in alignment with him, that can go away. We can rest in that. It's powerful. This is a partnership. It's a covenant. He promises. It's solid. There's nothing more solid on this earth. So it's a confidence in us that's unshakable. It's unshakable. Does that mean we won't struggle or worry or doubt? No, absolutely not. But when we can go back to this place, we can have an unshakable stand. Okay, so in Psalm 40, I'm going to pull a few things out. He says he will put a new song in our mouth, and he rescues us from the pit. He rescues us from that. So in verse 6, he says, it is not sacrifices that really move your heart. David is saying, it's not the burnt offerings and the sin offerings that bring you joy. He's talking to God. But when you open my ears and speak to me, I become your willing servant, your prisoner of love for life. This is the Passion version. And if you haven't read any psalm in the Passion, it's so beautiful. But Psalm 40, I love that. His response is, here I am. And he says, I'm coming to you as a sacrifice. We are living sacrifices, right? For in the prophetic scrolls of your book, you have written about me. And he says that. He says in verse 8, I delight to fulfill your will, my God. Your living words are written upon the pages of my heart. This is a love affair. This is a connection that gets you up and excited about the adventure that God is taking you on. Reading the Psalms helps us connect to David's heart for him. So today is a transitional day. We are entering into a new beginning and a new way of doing life. So think about that as you step out today, that you are participating in the anniversary of a new world, a new beginning that Noah stepped out on with confidence and 100% secure, building the altar to God. So what are you building to him today? What are you going to put on the altar and get rid of? And what are you going to step confidently and boldly and unshakably into? Because I don't want to keep building with my own hands. I don't want to do that. Noah came out with a willing heart to participate in that rebuilding. In Psalm 18, 15 through 19, it says, the foundations of the world were exposed. He laid them bare and exposed the secret source of the sea. He rescued me from mighty waters and drew me to himself. He rescued me because of his delight in me. All of these things have this thread of God's rescuing because of his delight in you. And when we can't receive that, we don't get to experience that. And yes, this flood happens every year. Every year we will celebrate the beginning and the end of the flood. I think that this particular flood is pretty epic. It's biblical that we're experiencing, and we get to align with that. So take some time today to pray, to journal with God. What is he rescuing you from? And what are you going to place on the altar and step boldly into? And I'm super excited. And there's a little story that I wanted to share with you guys, just kind of about a personal breakthrough that God had with me. But I want to invite someone on with us right now. Who I'm going to invite my partner in crime because I'm super excited. We've been planting little seeds and letting you guys know that we have something coming down the pike, and we finally have it all ready to unveil to you guys to help us step boldly, because you know that not only are we not alone without God, but we're not alone. If you're in this group, you have kind of partnered yourselves with us. And all of us together, we get to have that. There's a great energy and power that comes from that. So I'm going to bring Judy in. Hey, oh my gosh, you're at the studio. I love it.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Awesome.
Oh, I love your studio. It looks so good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm in the studio today. So exciting. But I'm excited to hear about your breakthrough. Tell us.
Yes. Well, My breakthrough came, I feel like it's been a breakthrough of the last few weeks, but I had a very powerful breakthrough, and I'm excited because some of you that were part of our what do you call our retreat, that we had, got to work with Judy in a one-on-one way. She has been doing these breakthrough sessions, and I got to have mine with her a few days ago. That was incredibly powerful, and I don't want to give it all away because it is definitely something that you want to experience. But God gave me a vision in that session that we had that was mind-blowing, and I've been reiterating it in my mind. Oh man. But I love how God will do that. Like, I've shared many times on this podcast and in this group, self-reliance is my Achilles heel. And it has just been such a journey of discovering. And I feel like this year, God really was taking, we promise that when we do the work, we're going to dig out the things so that we can plant in new seed. And we've been following the Hebrew months and the seasons. And so in the spring, we did a lot of planting. In the summer, we did a lot of fertilizing that planting, digging out the weeds. And then in the fall, our retreat's focus was on the harvest and what is he harvesting? And that was amazing. And there's been some incredible harvest happen in my house and in my relationship with Dan, in my marriage, and in everything. And it was so amazing to kind of get this breakthrough session, because one of the things that I realized in my self-reliance was that I carry a lot of things that aren't mine to carry, and it becomes a load. And I'm in this, it's connected to this self-reliance, which I didn't realize, because not only am I trying to fix myself and figure things out on my own strength, I'm also trying to fix other people. And if I live with you, I really take that on. And there was such a connection that was made about growing up in my family. And, we're so tight knit, but there was all kinds of things that we didn't understand and had to heal from. And then, you become an adult and you have your own family, and there's all these kind of codependent threads and different things. But what God really revealed to me in the session that I had with Judy was very visual. And we kind of do meditation. It's very, she takes you on a very guided, I wouldn't even call it so much where you're under hypnosis or anything, but it's very much guided so that you're answering from your, what would you say? Your
unconscious mind.
Yes, your unconscious mind. Yes. I was going to say subconscious, but that didn't.
It's both the same. They're interchangeable.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So she takes you through this place, and God gave me this vision. And in this vision, it was interesting because first she asked me, okay, we're in the present, and I want you to look at your past. I'm just going to share this part. Which way is it? Is it up, down, forward? And I was like, it's to my left. Okay. And so that's just kind of key because it's part of my vision. So in this process of this breakthrough, we were talking about all this. And at the end, she was speaking actually a verse over me. And it was the verse about carrying my burdens, God saying my burden is light. And she read the whole passage over me. And while she was reading that, God gave me this vision, and I was underneath this avalanche of debris, like pouring over me. And every time it was coming down, I was going down further and further till I was like almost laid out on the ground. And all of a sudden I saw this like opening to my right, which would mean it's to my future, right? It was to my right. And I was able to look right out, and I saw Jesus there, and he was going, come here, come here, come here, like this. Like he's been waiting for me to see him sitting there. And I like just slipped right out. It wasn't even hard. I didn't even have to climb out. I just slipped right out. And I looked back, and he was saying, this is not only is this not yours to carry, it's not yours to figure out, but I don't even want you to think about it. Like, I want you to release it to me. And we're walking over here. It was like God giving me a vision of Eric's teachings of not my monkey, not my circus, right? But this took it on a spiritual, like, I'll never forget this. I will never forget that vision that God gave me in that moment to be free, and to feel good about it, like to feel strong in that. Not that I'm failing, or not that I'm not enough, or not that I didn't figure it out. It was like this complete freedom to step out from underneath it. And I just felt like I wanted to share it, but I wanted to share that with you on, because I'm just so grateful for all the work that you have done and all that you are bringing to self-care, soul care, so that we can dig down deeper and step boldly. Our goal in the very beginning of Get Inspired was to bridge the gap between inspiration and destiny. And we've done that, and we've felt it with tools and with things, but I feel like God is taking this to a whole nother level, honestly. And so I'm very excited, because Judy and I are going to share what we have coming down the pike, but I wanted to just thank you personally from my heart, and anything that you wanted to share about that.
Oh, that's so awesome. It has been so fun. I've been busy. I've been doing a lot of these sessions with clients, and just to see the breakthrough, to see the release, to see just what God is putting in people's hearts and minds, and that vision of breakthrough, really, of releasing what is not yours to carry. It's so visual and so perfect, and that's something that you carry with you, right, all the way. So I think that's something that we all can really glean. It's like, what is it that God's trying to show you? What is it that God's trying to rescue you from and release you from? And I
Right.
love that we're talking about the flood, because this last couple months has been, wow, God's really taken away so many things that it feels like you're drowning. It feels like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And all you can do is float
Yeah.
and trust and trust that he's going to be there. But it makes so much sense why this time it has felt that way. But when you're on the other side, you realize, wow, I didn't need those things to weigh me down. I don't need those things to hold me back. And so when I say that we are leveling up here in self-care, soul care,
Yeah.
we're not just saying that. Like, we are leveling up on a whole other level. And the coaching that I'm getting right now, and the people that I'm around, I just laugh, because I'm like, God, what in the world are you doing? But Vicki and I love to learn, and we're always open, and whatever we're learning, we're always pouring it back. And my breakthrough last week, I had my own personal breakthrough, and that was really the message that God was trying to show me is like, I have a hard time receiving, compliments or affirmations or acknowledgement.
Mhm.
And I had to really dig to figure out, okay, where is that coming from? Why is that so difficult for me? And it was a long story, but the root of it, God is saying, no, receive it, because it's not for you. When you receive it, it's for you to pour back out. And so a lot of this visualization is so powerful, as I visualize all these hearts. Like, I was hollow, and there was just this circular motion of these hearts, like millions of hearts that were going around and around. And God says, I pour in, and then you pour it back out. Like, that's why you have to receive it, because when you receive it, you're pouring it back out. And I just love that visual, because it's reciprocal, right? Like, we don't get just to receive for our own selfishness, but we get to give. And that's what we do here at Self-Care Soul Care. And if you have been with us from the beginning, I mean, I would love to hear comments of just even your own transformation. I was talking to somebody, one of our members earlier, and I'm just so proud of her and just where she's come from. And, that's what it's all about. All of us in community together, healing together, transforming together, leveling up together. And that's what we have coming up that I know we're going to talk about right now, is that we don't want to have anybody left behind. We don't want anyone stuck in excuses of, oh, life sucks, or, oh, you're stuck watching the news and the doom and gloom. That's not what we want. We want to take you up with us to the next level, because guess what? You cannot be in fear and be in creation mode at the same time. It is impossible.
Mm-mm.
And so it's by design that the enemy wants to keep everybody in fear. Because when you're in fear, you're paralyzed. When you're in fear, you're hiding, you're fighting, you're right, fight or flight.
Yep.
And so when you're a creation, you're in alignment with our creator, because God is the creator. So if you're creating, guess what? That's him working through you. That's him coming in so that you can give it out, right? Everything that we create comes from God. The books that we're all going to be creating, the workshops, the intensives, the programs. I mean, if you've been with us, Vicki and I are very open with, I wish we were smart enough to do this, but this is totally the Holy Spirit giving us these courses, giving us these insights, giving us this stuff. And I got a testimonial yesterday, and truly it was the most encouraging compliment. She said, Judy will be the first to tell you that she does it. This is not her wisdom, that what she is sharing comes from the Holy Spirit. And this is from a client of mine. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. Like, that is a huge compliment, that we're just these vessels that God uses to create. But if you're in fear, you can't create.
No.
And so these breakthroughs really help get rid of that fear and find the root of the fear. And so that's what excites me, because I feel like, oh my gosh, we actually have tools, tangible tools, to go in and help change our state, help change, the emotional, the negative, limiting beliefs. And it's very, very powerful. So thank you for trusting me on your journey. And I just love watching you grow and watching you break through. And, we're in this together. So good. So why don't we tell everyone what we have coming up?
Yes. So we are, we've been talking about ways that we can stay connected, ways that we've been doing a rhythm of online things, because things have been so online, and we shook it up with a retreat in person that was amazing. And everyone there, we did a survey after, like, what do you want? And they were like, more retreats, more in person, which was awesome. So we are planning something for spring of 2022, which we'll be definitely talking about in person. But in the meantime, that's a long ways away. And there's too much. There's too much happening. And we want to make the most of every opportunity. And this time right now that we're in the calendar, in the Hebrew calendar, it's 5782. We've been in there now. This is the second month in. And we get to kind of get a sneak peek into the new year with the Hebrew calendar, because 2022 isn't going to be here for another couple months. So we call this in the Hebrew calendar hidden time. And it's a time to really prepare. If you think about kind of the way that society does it here, is by the time it's the end of the year, you're so spent, you're so like exhausted that January comes and it's sort of this like, okay, I'm going to get back on the swing and I'm going to work out and I'm going to do, imagine finishing the year in a place where there's this momentum that when the beginning of the year starts, you are already stepping full into wherever God is taking you next. And whatever that is, whatever season that you are in, because it's really about being so grounded emotionally, physically, and spiritually that it's an unshakable place to start from. And so what we're going to do starting November 11th, because 11/11, we wanted to start it there. So that Thursday night, we're doing a free gems workshop, and it's going to be a focus on your human development. It's going to be, we're going to be using the tools of a personality with that, and it's going to be free. It's going to be online. It's going to be on Zoom. And that is going to be a great opportunity. It's something that you can definitely share. It's the beginning, and it's what we call like a pre-session, because starting the following Monday night, which is the 15th, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We're going to be doing an Ignite Your Passion no, Ignite Your Potential Challenge, and Ignite Your Potential Challenge. Now, we've done this in different format, but this time we're revamping it, and we're going to be doing it as a challenge. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's going to be power packed. It's going to be 2 hours, 7 to 9 Central Time, and it'll be power packed. And I believe that we're going to have daylight savings switch right before that. So check your time zone, because if you live like where Judy lives in Arizona, your time zone is going to change and it's not going to align anymore with what it is. So make sure you're aware of that.
Actually, we stay the same. Everybody else changes.
That's true. We stay the same. So you become mountain time there, I believe. So it's going to be very exciting. And we have let me show you guys. We have a link that you can go to. It's always our selfcaresoulcaremastermind.com is our domain. And then you just do /ignite challenge. And that'll take you to really where everything is spelled out. Everything that we're doing. Anybody can do the gems, and even if someone does the gems and then they decide that they want to do the coaching and the challenge, that's great, because we'll have that last opportunity that night to join us. But if you already know that you are in, and I was going to talk to Judy about this because this came to me while I was preparing for this and I haven't had the chance to. I thought we should do some kind of a giveaway for but for one of a session with you, for one of these breakthrough sessions that we could raffle it off, or maybe the first person, or we'll figure it out, whatever you want to do. I thought that would be a really cool thing to include.
Yeah, let's do it.
Definitely as an incentive. So whatever how could that work for you? Let us know. But the link is there, and I will put a live link in the comments too. And but tell me, what are you most excited about that? I'm going to put that in the comments right now. What are you most excited about that, Judy? About our online workshop?
Like you said, I think taking advantage of this hidden time.
Mm-hmm.
And getting a head start. I'm already doing that. I'm already going through, my goals and just my calendar for 2022. And the coaching that I'm doing right now, it's really about designing your life and not being reactive to your life, but being proactive. So what do you want 2022 to look like? This is not about like resolutions or let's hustle and make it happen, but it's about creating. Yeah. What can you create your life to look like in 2022? I mean, I'm going to create a 3-week, vacation with my family somewhere beachfront.
Nice.
This 2022, right? Where we could just get off the grid and just connect with our family. And so it's something that we're going to be talking about in our Ignite Your Potential, our 4-day challenge, is how can we do that? How can you create? Because creation is limitless. Creation brings energy. Creation is what you are stepping into every day, right? That's proactive. Reactive is the victim of, I don't have any money. I don't have time. Or I don't excuses, right? Of all the reasons why things are not happening for you. And so Ignite Your Potential is, if I'm going to be totally transparent, right? This coaching that I'm doing is really taking me to the edge of my limits. And it's scary because I like to hold back, or I like to not really show all my cards, right? But the coaching that I'm getting is that they know what my cards are, and they call me to the carpet. And it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit uncomfortable because you can't just hide behind, sometimes even just our little bit of effort can look like a lot, but you know what your potential is. And
Right.
so we're just letting you know when you join, you know, we're going to call you to the carpet because, guys, time is of the essence. Like, we need to live full out, you know, our full potential, because God has so much in store for us. And it's fun on the other side. It's fun creating. It's fun not living in fear. Who wants to
Right.
do that?
Mm-mm.
That's no fun. You know, God's already allowed the flood to come to clear out all the debris, all the stuff that we don't need, so that we can step into, all right, what can we create? What's fun? What kind of future can we have together that we can create together? So that's what I'm excited about. And really being able to not just say that, but like you said, what does that look like practically?
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. And I think it's so different than just kind of this idea of a New Year's resolution or, I mean, if you think about that, by the time you get, I don't know, maybe in your 30s, you're like, yeah, I'm not doing those resolutions anymore. Like, when you're young and excited. And, when you think about it, it's like the world teaches us, the culture and society teaches us so the opposite of how God designed us to be partnered with Him, relying on Him, and aligned with His will. And what is that? That's all forward motion. It's all movement and energy. And the world is all about figuring it out on your own, doing it, trying to outdo, compete, and then it's comparing, and it's this life of comparison that social media, everything it's just gotten progressively more in your face, more in your face. And so people are numbing out and giving up, and it's one of those things, like, you would never have arrived.
Hmm.
It's like the carrot on the stick that you're never actually going to get there, but you're on the wheel, and you don't even understand what you're up against. And I felt that way when I had that vision and Jesus was like, come here, just come out. I'm
Yeah.
like, really? I can just get out? Like, what? It didn't even fall on me. Like, it didn't even touch me. It was amazing. And to go,
Wow.
wow, when I think about that, I've sometimes thought, because it's like been on my heart for so long to write, and it's been on, when God puts stuff on your heart to do, it can kind of feel like a burden. It can kind of feel like if I'm not doing it, it's bothering me in the back of my mind. Like when everything's quiet. And what he's saying is, I made me think of that. Like, it's not a burden in a bad way. It's something that God has kind of like given me a charge of. I've charged you with this. And if I'm busy doing all these other things, and I'm not stepping in, like you say, it's excuses. And I hate that because when you're in it, you don't feel like it is. You feel like, but these are real. These are valid, honest. I'm in survival mode. I'm having to make money to do with these things. But man, there's something when you are able to actually slow down and start to connect, that you feel God carrying you. And we talked about that. There's the Sabbath rest, and then there's another word, and I can't think of it, but it's that rest when you're
Dominion.
the
Dominion
dominion
rest.
rest. Yes, thank you. And it is stepping into that. What has God given you dominion over? And when you think about that, wow, what is that dominion rest? Is when you're stepping into it with that confidence and the peace that you're walking with Him. And it's also fun and exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about when we started Get Inspired, and we started by jumping off the cliff saying, we're going to do this huge event. And we have no idea. But how exciting was it?
Yeah.
And how exciting was it that God would show up in all the littlest of ways and biggest of ways through the whole process? And I think that is something that ignited in us with this, because here we are. It isn't exactly what we pictured. It's totally different. God has taken it on its path, but it was so awesome to step in. And I think that's what was so powerful about it for me, was all of a sudden I was like excited about where is God taking us. And it was very different Christian walk than I had before.
Yes.
And it
Right.
is scary. It's out of your comfort zone. But
Yeah.
who wants to live in your comfort zone? It's boring.
But I think it's even reframing fear, right?
Mhm.
Like, because when we're in fear mode, we cannot create. And what kills fear is action. Like when we overthink it, you know, we're not going to do it because we're going to find ways of why we shouldn't do it, right? And that's by design. Our mind is created to try to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us in our comfort zone.
Yep.
And so you have literally about 5 seconds to make a decision, and before you start feeling all the fear.
Right.
So I did that even, I think it was yesterday. I'm hosting a retreat here in Scottsdale, really for some coaches that are in the area, because I am manifesting and creating a very special guest to come and speak at this retreat. And I was very fearful of pressing this, post button,
Right.
because all the words and the messages that tell you, oh, nobody's going to come. Oh, nobody, who do you think you are? Right. So we have all these negative voices. So before you can even entertain those voices, action is what kills fear. So I just pressed send and I just closed my eyes and I just said, okay, here it goes. And oh my gosh, I have so many responses. I might not even have room for everyone because we only have room for 12 people. And so that's what it is. When you're creating, it's kind of like, do you guys remember Donkey Kong? I know we're totally dating ourselves, right? But the whole, when you level up, I mean, you're jumping up to the next level. You're jumping up to the next. I mean, I feel like the growth that we've experienced this year has been exponential. I mean, when you jump, you're not just taking a step, you're like totally going up to the next level. And you only can do that when you take action.
Yes.
When you take action. And it should scare you a little bit, but instead of looking at it as fear, look at it as excitement. Look at it as an adrenaline rush. Look at it as like, oh my gosh, what's God going to do with this one? Right? Like there's this because we're partnering with him, we know that it's not us. We know that we're just obeying and we're along for the ride. We're along for the adventure. Yeah. And what if we looked at life through that lens? What would our lives look like? I'm having fun. I don't know about you, but it's crazy right now, but it's fun.
Yeah. And when you were using that analogy of the game, like leveling up, because, it takes a long time to succeed on a certain level, and what's coming and you've figured it out and you've done it wrong and you've gone back, right? And you figured it out. So that terrain, you level into the next level. It's totally different terrain. Everything's different. It's harder. It's a little more challenging. And so there is so much in this flood for me, and I think for us collectively, that God is saying, these are the things you cannot take with you. You can't take them with you where we're gonna go, because you won't make it there. If you're carrying all this debris on you, all these things that aren't yours to carry, you've got to release it, because and I'm excited. And if you are out there, you're listening to this and you're ready to level up, whatever that looks like in your life, in your season, I can tell you that this is the place. This is the group. This group is incredible. And I'm super excited to see, because we have not done this in this format online before. So I know this is what God does. He puts it out there, we jump in, and then he blows away even our expectations. So I'm
every single time.
I'm super excited to see. So we'll be coming.
Uh-oh, you're stuck. Hopefully you come back. I don't know if I'm stuck, but the link is on here, you guys.
Hopefully I'm back.
You're back.
Okay. That might be our sign to close out, but but the link is below. We'll have more talks about this. If anybody has anything that they want to share about the retreat or working with us or any of the stuff that we've done so far, please share that. Share with your friends, and we're excited to see you on November 11th. We will be live in a Zoom room, and we hope that you're there with us for that. So you have a beautiful day, Judy, out there in
You
Arizona.
too. All right. Love you guys.
Love you guys so much. Have a beautiful and blessed Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.